All right, overcast day today, a little bit of wind around, and we'll keep going. Now, Brendan rang me yesterday and pointed out a news article which I'll go through at the end. These common law sheriffs in these purple shirts, and now two of them have gone to jail. And there's a Four Corners episode coming out, I think it's tonight, in relation to these sovereign citizens again. Now, that criminal muppet, David Halpin, war criminal muppet, right, scumbag magistrate, being used for propaganda, because they know inside that government that I'm right. And David Halpin is a war criminal piece of shit that should have gone to jail by now. But instead, they put him into the glass ceiling of academia, and I will go through a letter at the end of this video just defining this man's incompetence. This is where a foreign occupying power uses people under the thumb, under the peril of their own lives, because people like David Halpin don't serve your country. They are war criminal heathen pieces of shit. Right? Our Justice Lonergan of the Supreme Court of New South Wales knows very well that David Halpin is a war criminal piece of shit. We allow these magistrates to keep pushing us around. Do you know, when I grew up, the magistrates' court did not exist. It was called the Court of Petty Sessions. There were no magistrates' courts. It was called the Court of Petty Sessions, right? Small crimes. Everything else went into the judiciary. They are police magistrates working for a police commissioner who works for a foreign power in your state. And all you can do is argue with people like that criminal muppet Pauline Hanson, who committed a Section 44 offence on the Senate floor with her scarf. And all you can do is rely on her. She showed who her allegiance was with, going against your own constitution, and you back her by voting for her when she committed a crime. My God, I'm so... Yesterday, we mentioned the word ransomable, the ransomed, coming home. Now, I looked this word up. I should have done it yesterday. Ransom, release from captivity. Bondage or the possession of an enemy. Release from the possession of an enemy. Released from the possession of an occupying power in your land, using you under a dead legal fiction and human trafficking you. The money or price paid for the redemption of a prisoner, or for the goods captured by an enemy. The atonement to redeem from captivity punishment, or forfeit to redeem from sin. What did our Father who art in heaven, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors? Isn't that what it said very clearly? And Pauline, in the Senate, with all those other senators, has to honour that on the opening of the Senate. And did you know, for the last decade, they've been trying to remove the Lord's Prayer from the opening of the Senate, therefore removing God from everything that this government should be? Would that be a captivity, bondage, human trafficking under a dead legal fiction on the bonds market. Now, we all listen to Costello talk about bonds rolling off and how your children will suffer by 2030 because they're unpayable. Borrowed money, bondage, the possession of an enemy. I bet you if you go and look in the Macquarie Dictionary, it doesn't say that. I bet you if you go and look in your Occupiers Dictionary, under their red rose, it says something different. Now, we got to the chapter 36, so I'll keep going. Now it came to pass in the 14th year of King Hezekiah that Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came up against all the defenced cities of Judah and took them. And the king of Assyria sent Rabshakeh from Lachish to Jerusalem into King Hezekiah with a great army, and he stood by the conduit of the upper pool in the highway to the fuller's field. Then came forth unto him Eliakim, Hilkiah's son, which was over the house, and Shebna the scribe, and Joah and Asaph's son, the recorder. Now, we talked about the receiver last time. Now we're talking about recording something, a record of something. Okay? That recorder might have already recorded and is now about to prove something. And Rabshakeh said unto them, Say ye now to Hezekiah, Thus saith the great king, the king of Assyria, What confidence is there wherein thou trustest? What confidence is there? Are you confident in your common law foundations at law? Are you able to prove a line of authority that gives you authority to be a common law sheriff, or are you just a retard? Now, on whom dost thou trust? Is this wherein thou trustest? I say, sayest thou, but they are but vain words. I have counsel and strength for war. Now on whom dost thou trust, that thou rebellest against me? So the king of Assyria, the king of the war machine, turned up and said, why are you telling your people that you're not us? Right? Isn't that what I've been doing for 15 years? Now on whom dost thou trust, that thou rebellest against me? Well, the Order of Australia is a foreign entity in your land, a foreign creation after the creation of the Great Seal of Australia, after the cancelling of the Great Seal of the Commonwealth of Australia in 1973. This caused the removal of Gough Whitlam from government, the sacking of Gough Whitlam. And we already played Paul Keating talking about Governor-General Kerr. Now, if you listen to Paul Keating's words very carefully, he's telling the Parliament why no one trusted him. Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt, broken reed, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him? Is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him? But if thou say to me, we trust in the Lord, all caps, our God, is it not he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah hath taken away, and said to Judah and to Jerusalem, Ye shall worship before this altar? ? He asked them a question. You believe in this Lord that was broken, severed? You believe in this foundation that you see? Right? Ye shall worship before this altar? ? Now therefore give pledges, I pray thee, to my master the king of Assyria, and I will give thee 2,000 horses, if thou be able on thy part to set riders upon them. There's a foreign power, Assyria, right? We already went through this Egypt-Assyria thing in a previous video. This king of Assyria is saying, serve me via a pledge of citizenship. Go and look at the citizenship on the immigration website, and immigrants get to take a pledge to the government, not to God, not to the foundations in a king. They do not take the scheduled oath in the Constitution. They do not take a scheduled oath, and therefore are not defenders of your Constitution. They are under a pledge to serve a foreign administering power. Go and read the Pledge of Citizenship. Now therefore give pledges, I pray thee, to my master, the king of Assyria. He's telling this Hezekiah's son, you better do as you're told and serve my king. We run your land. Now therefore give pledges, I pray thee, to my master king of Assyria, and I will give thee 2,000 horses, if thou be able on thy part to set riders upon them. How then wilt thou turn away the face of one captain of the least of my master's servants, and put thy trust on Egypt for chariots and for horsemen? A foreign power telling an occupied land, are you going to trust on your occupier, because we came out of Egypt, right, for all of these war machine things? They administer. Now look at what happened in Afghanistan when America lost the right to do something at international law and left $2.3 billion of military hardware behind because they didn't own it. Afghanistan owned it. How then wilt thou turn away the face of one captain of the least of my master's servants, and put thy trust in Egypt for chariots and for horsemen? They're our military hardwares. They're our Bushmaster vehicles. They're our guns. They're our, do you see? They're our helicopters. They're our submarines. And am I now come without the Lord, all caps, against this land to destroy it? ? The Lord, all caps, said unto me, go up against this land and destroy it. Then said Eliakim and Shebna and Joah unto Rabshakeh, speak, I pray thee, unto thy servants in the Syrian language, for we understand it, and speak not to us in the Jews' language, in the ears of the people that are on the wall. That would say, speak not to us in the English language, in the ears of the people that are on the wall, because Old Testament, New Testament. Now, I should have done this yesterday as well. Oh, it's Yahweh. We all believe in Yahweh. the New Testament of our Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christ. Christ. Our Lord is not Yahweh. Our Lord is not some bastardized foreign god. Our Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christ. King of Great Britain, France and Ireland, defender of the faith. Where's Israel? Where's Zionism? Where's all the lies that you speak? They're not in here. They're just not in here. So it's starting to become apparent to a lot of you. But Rabshakeh said, "Hath my master sent me to thy master and to thee to speak these words?" ? Hath he not sent me to the men that sit upon the wall, that they may eat their own dung and drink their own piss with you? Is that a foreign power coming in and saying, "Oi, yeah, see that nasty power running your country? We're not here to take you over. We're here to say something about it. Take pledge." Then Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice in the Jews' language and said, "Hear ye the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus saith the king, let not Hezekiah deceive you, for he shall not be able to deliver you. We want your land. Take a pledge to us. We'll give you 2,000 horses if you do that. We'll move in and help you govern yourselves." Right? In the English tongue. Come take pledge to us. IMF, right? For he shall not be able to deliver you. Neither let Steve make you trust in the Lord. It's a warning. Don't trust in your own gods, saying the Lord will surely deliver us. Well, I already said that, haven't I? By a high way. It's the only way. Because an occupied country, we're talking about warfare. So we're talking about the Hague and Geneva Conventions, and we're talking about a whole bunch of politicians that serve a foreign power in your land and don't serve you, which is an act of treason. But you go and try and charge them with treason, they're administering you. You have to grow up and stop being dependent on them. Hearken not to Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria, make an agreement with me by a present, and come out to me, and eat ye every one of his vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink ye every one the waters of his own cistern. The king of Assyria saying to Hezekiah, make an agreement with me by a present. Now, when you read the Queen's statements, by these presents, right, present, because we have this word present that means in the present. Present tense. Present, being near, being in a certain place, at hand or within call, now existing, being now under consideration, ready, quick in emergencies, that which is presented or given, a gift, present time, business under consideration, writing in a legal document, present tense, the tense of a verb which expresses what is true now or makes a universal statement, speaking generally versus speaking specially. When you speak generally, like the Governor General would speak generally for the population, wouldn't they? Do you have a right to speak generally, or do you attend by special appearance? Your Honour, I'd like to speak for myself, not for a people. Present, to put or place in the presence of someone, of a superior. So we have presents and presence. Two different pronunciations of the same word. To give formal introduction to exhibit, to view or notice, to offer, to make a gift, to bestow, to nominate to an ecclesiastical benefice, to lay before a public body or court for consideration, to indict, to point as a weapon, to present arms, to salute a superior officer by holding out the musket, sword, or other weapon. Presentable, capable or admitting of being presented. So by these presents, make an agreement with me by a present. Until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of corn and wine, a land of bread and vineyards. Beware, lest Hezekiah persuade you, saying, the Lord, all caps, will deliver us. Hath any gods of the nations delivered his land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? Power, war power, money power. Has anybody delivered you from the IMF? Well, the CIA and Mossad would undermine a country by creating a coup in like the Ukraine, because in 2014, Ukraine said, yeah, we'll take your money, Russia. Because Russia said, there's no demands, just pay us back. And the CIA and Mossad, through the IMF, flexed demands on Ukraine for them to stop paying pensions and to allow private ownership of land. So they caused a coup on government to change the head of government so they could manipulate the government, and then ended up in a war with Russia. So those people behind the IMF are responsible for the war in the Ukraine. Beware lest Hezekiah persuade you, saying, the Lord will deliver us. Hath any gods of the nations delivered his land out of the hand of the IMF? Where are the gods of Hamath and Arphad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim? And have they delivered Samaria out of my hand? Who are they among all the gods of these lands that have delivered their land out of my hand, that the Lord, all caps, should deliver Jerusalem out of my hand, should deliver the king's domain out of my administration? Because I administer you. I've got all the war power. I've got all the financial power. Have any of the nations got out of my grasp? CIA coup on all these African nations, CIA coup on all these European nations, CIA coup going back, 75 years? Who are they among all the gods of these lands that have delivered their land out of my hand, that the Lord, all caps, should deliver Jerusalem out of my hand. But they held their peace and answered him. They held their peace. Not a word. They answered him not a word. For the king's commandment was saying, answer him not. Ignore him. Ignore him. Stop arguing with the idiots that are perpetuating all this pseudo-American legal garbage. Stop arguing with this foreign power that runs your federal parliament. Stop believing Pauline Hanson's going to save you. Stop believing these muppets that commit crimes in a clown show every day have any interest in you. Pauline Hanson only gives a shit about her pension. She doesn't give a shit about this country. She pushes a foreign flag around while flying an Israeli flag on the Senate floor. You haven't worked this out yet because you're literally a bunch of children in an insane asylum. Then came Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, that was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph the recorder, to Hezekiah with their clothes rent, and told him the words of Rabshakeh. So the sons of the king, you, the fathers of your houses, one was appointed a scribe, one was appointed a recorder, one was appointed a receiver. Does this sound like a company of men starting to gather their own wits to be able to manage their own affairs instead of relying on a nanny state all the time that puts you into human trafficking so that you can pay your debts off because you can't mentally in your own head know that you're in debt? I'm not in debt, I've got lots of money. What happens when that money's worth nothing? It's paper. It's a financial instrument, a bill of exchange. The actual value isn't the note. The value is behind the note. And if that note becomes unusable, which has happened before in a Weimar Republic, with an African country with $1 billion note and $1 million note, because their finances crashed so hard. Now, rent clothes, rent, to give back, to pay, a certain periodical profit in money, provisions or labour, issuing out of lands and tenements, rental, revenue, the stipulated sum paid by a tenant annually, quarterly, monthly or weekly, for the temporary use and possession of lands, moors, houses, rooms, to grant the possession and enjoyment of, to lease, to take and hold by lease the possession of, to be leased or let for rent, rent day, the day on which rents are due, rent free, without payment of rent, rent roll, a list of rents, a rental, rent, a fissure, an opening made by rending, a break or breach made by force, a tear, a split, a schism, a separation. Right, so the second word, rent, would be the most applicable here. A split. To Hezekiah with their clothes torn, rent, and told him the words of Rabshakeh. So the sons came to the king and said, the Lord will save us, but we said nothing to him. Right, and the scribe and the recorder with their clothes torn. Now, chapter 37 is quite large. We'll go into that in a second. So I think I might stop and let's go through some common law sheriff stupid.
Donald Trump had specifically asked about me because I remind him of his daughter, and she said, well, she's 13 as well. So he knew the first time that he saw me. But he comes over mad because I was crying, and he said that I should be thankful that someone like Donald Trump took my virginity. He basically didn't say took my virginity. He said, I should be glad that someone like Donald Trump popped my cherry and not some pimply little 14-year-old. And I just was like, what if I said, what if I get pregnant? Not even talking to him. I didn't want to talk to him. I was talking to Tiffany. And he said, well, you'll get an abortion then, bitch, and then just walked away.
Why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's...
So I went to do that and talk about this news article, and it ended up being a whole entire episode. So I'll publish twice today. We'll finish this off. We won't go into any more Bible. We'll keep this short so that you can go and watch the amusing one. Now, it's quite funny. But what I'm trying to get across to you is that over the last 20 episodes or so, we're at chapter 35, 36. You would have realized something in those first 30 chapters. So over the last 15 or so episodes, you would have come to realize that there are foundations here that we're talking about, aren't there? That Bible actually creates something. And that something is what's freaking out the government, which is why they have to attack you with the self-rid citizen ideology. They want to defame your characters so that the rest of society ignores you. Albanese is directly responsible for the ABC. So I'll leave that hour and a half, because this next video about this news article takes a long time. Right? So you need to listen to that. But these people know. They fear. They fear you standing up. They finally realised, oh shit, these people do know what they're talking about. And they're worried that all these fractional groups around Australia will somehow realise, shit, Steve's right, and boom, you're a united country and you're attacking Albo for working for a foreign power. That's what they fear. They fear it because they committed international war crimes called Nuremberg offences. All of them were walked into it and just followed those orders willingly. Willingly. Isn't that right, Jackie Lambie? Gonna chase you all down! Jackie Lambie's the crazy one that spat all over the parliament, screaming at the top of her lungs. She's the ex-ADF military woman. How'd she become a senator? Look at all the things she's spoken about in relation to a Brereton report. Why would she dob in your own soldiers? She did the right thing by trying to pull Angus Campbell, criminal muppet, back into it and have his medals of honour removed from him because he was not boots on the ground, and the medal of honour that they gave him was for being boots on the ground. Angus Campbell, Chief of Defence, escaped command line responsibility for Ben Roberts-Smith when he got a medal for being boots on the ground next to Ben Roberts-Smith. Wouldn't that make Angus Campbell directly responsible in a command line responsibility for everything in a Brereton report? Everything. And they let him off, just like they let George Pell off, right? You're up against a mafia of criminal organisation. You're up against a death cult. I keep saying it. Your government works for a death cult. They hold you to a dead legal fiction. They treat you like a commercial chattel. They manage all of your affairs on your behalf. Like a mafia. A mafia. That's all they are. They're not a legitimate government. They're an occupying mafia. They break the laws. They break international laws and think they're above the international laws. Look at Netanyahu. Look at all the people in the parliament that supported genocide. And Pauline, we got her very clearly saying, oh, there's no genocide going on in Palestine, and if the Palestinians want to stand up against genocide, they won't be able to. I support genocide with my scarf. I support a foreign power on the Senate floor going against the Constitution, and none of the senators around me held me to account to the Constitution. None of the senators around Pauline Hanson raised a 44-2 argument against an Israeli flag used by Pauline Hanson on the Senate floor while she supported genocide. Does that explain something to you? Does that explain something to you? None of the people around her said, what you're doing is showing allegiance, obedience, or adherence to Israel, which is committing genocide at the time. Oh, there's no genocide. And if the Palestinians want to fight against genocide, they've got no chance. Are you saying Australia's under that thumb? Are you saying you serve genocide? Why didn't any other politician raise to the High Court the criminal offence you committed in front of them all? So I'm going to leave you to it. We've done our Bible discussions. We've looked at some stuff. I'm just hinting as to what's coming in the next video, right? Now, what I'll say before I leave, David Halpin, criminal muppet, war criminal, served the Magistrates Court of New South Wales. And I sat before David. And David has pushed the sovereign citizen ideology for the ABC ever since. Because he knows full well, he's a fucking criminal muppet. He's a war criminal. He did these things to your countrymen. Just hint. So enjoy the next video. Now, we get to this point where we can call people like David Halpin, Magistrate of New South Wales, a deluded criminal muppet used by a foreign branch executive to push propaganda on the propaganda mouthpiece of that foreign branch executive, the ABC media. It is Australian government funded media, isn't it? Designed to push propaganda out for that government. For that government. Just think about this. All right, so you see me pointing a finger at all these people, don't you? You don't see me pretending to be a sheriff with no authority, because our authority is with God, and God owns all our courtrooms. All you need to do is stand with your gods properly. And you've never learnt to do that. You keep pushing this pseudo-American legal garbage around that I've used in courtrooms to prove you wrong. Prove you wrong. But I've also used the Bible and God and the foundations of this country to prove me right. That's why David's freaking out. That's why David's freaking out. Right? So when you think about this, and you listen to what I've got to say, they never challenge me. They never mention my name. Not once. And I'm probably the loudest of all of you. And they ignore me. But they used the criminal magistrate muppet to put me in a jail to push propaganda around on their behalf. How do you feel, David? This is now my question. David Halpin, you know you committed crimes. You know you're a treasonous muppet. You know you're a traitor to your own country. You know these things. You know you're under their thumb, pushing their propaganda around. You know you went from this colour hair to grey with bags under your eyes and applied for mental health not long after I saw you. About a year and a half later, you wanted to quit. Why? Why? I'm smiling at you, David, because I know you feel guilty as fuck. I'm smiling at you, David, because I want to know, how do you feel? How do you feel being a traitor to your own country, serving a foreign executive branch on their propaganda media under their thumb? Did you ever see yourself as an actor, acting in an ABC TV show with some Muppet woman? Oh, David, is this your chambers? No, it's not. I gave up being a magistrate in 2017. I had to file for mental health because some guy brought me God. All right, enough hints about the next video. When you start to realize we have power, and it's not the way you think it is, it's slightly different, right? And once this snaps in your brains, you're going to realize something, and you're going to show some sort of loyalty to it. Not for me, for your gods, right? Now, if I was put in a jail, and you're here, and in that jail, they recognized these things because I showed them, right? Wouldn't that mean that the government's known this since 2015? Wouldn't they know that since 2010, I wasn't going to stop? And now that it's 2025 and we're getting stronger, you're going to start seeing them panic because they have no lawful authority. They are a mafia that committed international war crimes. You're stupid little children, right? And I'm not being rude to you, this is just the fact of law, who haven't grown up to realize these things. And the moment you do, you'll start to turn into men. And those women have constantly bitched and whinged for the last 10 years and fucked you around are going to realize it. And eventually, you'll all stand together. And the women will support the men to be their warriors instead of growing balls for themselves and thinking they can lord-hard their way through everything. So what we come to realise now is defence of the faith right? It's defense of your country, your culture, and all the ideals of what you are. And while you all argue this pseudo-American legal garbage, you give up who you are. And I'm not willing to give that up, right? I'm an Aussie. I love my country. I love the people in my country. I see a criminal organisation called the Australian government destroying my country. When you realise this for yourself, it won't matter about your ego, because you'll stand right next to me and we'll both go and defend. That's what you'll come to realise. Oh, I don't want him to be, right? Stand the fuck next to me and be equal to me, and we'll all go. Oh, he wants to be something powerful over the top of me. How can you be some kind? Are you going to be some tyrannical king like every other one? You clearly don't know what's going on, do you? A king stands with all of his defenders and goes and defends. And if the Australian government's the thing that's attacking you, destroying your lives, if the state governments are the ones that poisoned all of you and committed war crimes, if the police commissioner's the one that authorised those war crimes, right? If the ADF is linked to those police commissioners through emergencies, and those health ministers all did the bidding and followed orders, aren't you obligated to defend against all of those criminal activities? So what you'll come to realise is you'll stand here, not back there. Because back there, you're going to play stupid pseudo-American legal garbage while those police manipulate you. Whereas up here, we stand with God and they can't manipulate us. We don't have foundations. Right? And if you know your foundations, can they sway you from them? No. We believe in a stone of remembrance, not a stone of destiny. We believe in the realm that was forged for us, not a foreign realm. Now, the Pope went home, right? Took his St. Edward's crown with him. And Charles turned up with a Scottish crown. And you sit there abandoning yours. And when you realise it, all of you are going to stand right here with me. You won't back down either, because you know who you are. And they can't manipulate that. Whereas back there, playing all that pseudo-legal garbage, they manipulate you every single day on social media. You have no loyalty, you have no salt, you have no idea. Whereas up here with me, and all the men that we've got, you start to realise who we are. And you'll defend it, because that's what we are. You won't give it up, because that's your ancestry. That's your lineage. Right? That's the difference here. You'll start to see me speaking very, very harshly. So enjoy the next video. I've published 2 today. Have fun. Now, if you want to keep this going, as we always say, there's a bank account detail down there. Drop some donations in. I'm in the middle of setting up this website. Been doing it for the last day. I'll publish some new stuff later. I'll add some crypto, mailing address for silver, and we've still got this bank account. You choose, right? But please help. You're going to see why. You're going to see what it means to help. Because in the next video, I was going to do it all in one video, but here we are, just talking about the next video, because it took an hour and a half to go through a news article and explain to you the stupid that you're going through. Right? And we can only do this with finances. How do I pay for the internet? How do I pay for fuel to move around? How do I pay for things that build this up? Right? So we do that through donations. You'll come to realize why. You'll come to realize we're not playing around here. Your ego's trying to trample down what was done for you, thinking that you can go and copy it without even knowing what was done for you, is tragically silly. It's your own stupid mistakes. Right? I'll explain more. You can ask questions in the comments below and I'll address them in future videos. You can discuss things down below and I'll look at what you discuss. Right? But what you'll come to realize is this. We are a people. Our people. We are the people of the Commonwealth of Australia. We are the owners of that estate under the Kingdom of Australia. And that kingdom has been recognised time and time again in the courtrooms as being the power underneath an administrator. You're not Great Britain. You were severed from Great Britain in the Treaty of Versailles, a very important document that puts the foundations of what your Anzac did into international law. Billy Hughes stood in that treaty in the Palace d'Orsay and was adamant you were going to be a people when the Americans didn't really want that to happen. So you got to thank Billy Hughes for standing up to President Wilson and saying, no, 62,000 of our men died for all of this. That's more than all of you. Because we had a small population of only 5 million people. 62,000 men out of 5 million. Whereas in America they had 150 million people. Right, so you had a tiny population and lost a large number of men, the largest per capita out of all the countries in the Treaty of Versailles. And Billy Hughes stood there and went, no, we died for this. How dare you? You give us what we are. That's our constitution. That's our blood. Those are our bloodlines. Right? The Hague Conventions were signed 12 years before that. Think about that. America flexed the Hague Conventions onto you through the Great White Fleet in 1908. Debt repayments. Think about these things. This is your history together. And we will keep showing you. Drop the donations in. Send stuff. Make comments. This is starting to become real now. The ego of these tards is disappearing very quick because they can't compete with the truth. They can only accept it. That's the harsh reality. And that's why you're watching all your politicians freak out. That's why you're watching state governments freak out. They committed one of the most serious acts of war crimes to have ever occurred on the planet. How many people were force medically procedured? How many people were used in the largest medical experiment to have ever taken place on the planet? Obama, I have the audio. Obama said to the world that they had done the largest experiment ever taken place in mankind. It's definitely medical experimentation. Wow, that's unusual. It's only just spittling. and a drop. But here we go. They admit that they experimented on all of you, which is a Nuremberg offence. It is under the Criminal Code 1995, and it is a national offence committed by those members of a national government. Jackie Lambie, war criminal. Pauline Hanson, war criminal. Anthony Albanese, war criminal. And I watched Scott Morrison. There's a couple of things that he did with relation to old aged care homes. War criminal. But on the other side, he said, rule of law, rule of law, rule of law, warning all the people of the states that rule of law applied, but they went and broke rule of law by experimenting on all of you with an emergency procedure brought on by the military. Angus Campbell, Chief of Defence, is highly responsible for a medical experimentation in occupied territories. Who's your commander, Angus? Who's in command line responsibility above you, Angus? The Governor-General? Would be that voice muppet Governor-General that we've never seen in public since she was appointed? Would that be a disgrace of the Governor-General's office, giving it to someone that hates the Constitution and wants to undermine it? Is that a conflict of interest, Albanese? Is that a crime? Is that treason? Trying to undermine the Constitution from the Governor-General's office? Or is that a military attack from a foreign power in executive branch control? Answer these questions. It's about the sum of it. Will you answer to yourselves now that you've been caught the fuck out? Or will you continue to push your propaganda on the ABC while your mental health patient acts for you? Isn't that right, David? You're a mental health patient. I could prove that too. Did something cause you a mental health problem? Did it, David? Right, enjoy the next video. Pay attention. Because we teach the Bible in chit-chat, right? But then when we address the media and a news report, pay attention. Because this involves you. And this involves how they treat you because of how you act. Right? Think about why they haven't ever mentioned my name. And I'm pretty much the strongest speaker out of all of you. I speak with conviction. I have called these people by name for their crimes they have indeed committed. Isn't that right? Pauline, Zionist, serving a foreign power and showing an adherence to Israel, the genocidal maniac, after it was deemed a war criminal in the ICC. You defend war criminals, do you, Pauline? Are you one of them, Pauline? Did you show your obedience to a war power? Interesting, right, everybody? Starting to wake up, are we? Starting to enjoy life now? Starting to realise you have power over and above these people? Starting to realise that when you actually stand with God, King and country, you might be able to turn around and say you're a pack of war criminals. We're going to charge you in federal courts. Right? And if the DPP throw those charges out, we'll charge the DPP. And if that gets thrown out, we'll go straight to the ICC and make reports of all the war crimes you've committed as a government. Right? So think about that. Well, I leave you to go to the next video and enjoy yourselves.